Jason, how many times have you visited Japan?
This is my second time, but each time has been a pretty significant tour.
Hmm.
So last year I was here for almost a month, and then today is day 30 or 31 of this trip.
Wow, that's a long tour.
It is a long tour. It is a long tour. Yeah, so even though only twice, it's been almost a month
Hmm.
out of each of the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so, what are your impressions or what experiences have you had visiting Japan?
Um, you know, it's a really fascinating culture.
Hmm.
You know that this is one of the many places that prior to coming here I was very excited to come.
Uh-huh.
And I think actually the first couple of things that jump out to me have nothing to do with yoga,
Hmm.
right? The first thing is design. Things are just really well designed here and very well packaged, right? There's so much attention to detail, and Japanese design tends to get away with so many things that other cultures wouldn't be able to get away with somehow,
Okay.
right? And one of the things I notice is sort of funny, but men's clothing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, just like these older Japanese men that just look so fly. They're just decked out so well, like this really great casual wear that looks effortless and just like really crisp and clean.
Mm.
And then I think another thing that jumps out is just the architecture and the I've had the fortune to travel a lot on trains here,
Mhm.
and how green it is and how mountainous it is. So just really dramatic, beautiful countryside, just lush and mountainous and very dramatic.
Mhm.
And the roofs of the homes are just like stunning, just beautiful tile and a different shape than I'm used to. So those are the things that sort of first jump out. And then also the population density.
Mhm.
We were just in Fukuoka, and
Right.
which was very much like San Francisco or Los Angeles density. I mean, it was a city,
Yeah.
but it was pretty open and spacious.
Mhm.
And right now, as we're doing this, we're in Shibuya,
Yeah.
and so the population density is really intense,
Mhm.
and then the scale of living is very different. People
Yes.
have smaller places and studios. In San Francisco, an average yoga studio could hold 50 to 60 people without much difficulty.
Wow.
Here, if for all the classes of mine that are full, they're full at 24 to 27 people.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that stand out right away. Yeah.
And what's it like teaching in Japan versus the other countries that you've taught in?
I'm fascinated with. There's a couple things,
Okay.
but there's one dynamic that fascinates me to no end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's that when I walk in class, everyone is quiet.
Mm.
You walk in class, everyone's quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's on the sticky mat, perfect eye contact.
Mm.
And there's this clarity and this organization and this quietness of the students. And I've gotten better at reading different students' affect.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I had a hard time. I couldn't read the body language about how what I was saying or what we were doing, what sort of impact that was having.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to feel like, oh, everyone's really quiet, everyone's really serious, there's low affect.
Mm-hmm.
I hope everyone's having a decent time.
Yeah.
After class, it's like a party. It's like a party. It's like there's pictures everywhere. Everyone is like immediately best friends with everyone. There's this layers of friendliness and layers of protocol. It takes like 20. Like in the U.S., when you say goodbye, it's like, all right, we'll see ya, bye.
Yeah.
And here it's like a 5-minute conversation just to say goodbye to someone.
Yeah.
So it's this combination of this very sincere, attentive, quiet student base, but it's not overly demure, and it's not heavy or boring. It totally has this other life to it that is fun and celebratory and jovial and so social. And that stands out in this big way. This very deep combination of quietness and then total exuberant social quality to everything. Yeah. On a physical level, it's just a generalization. In the West, I spend a lot of time trying to help people open the body, especially the hips, right? A lot of us, including myself, really tight in the hip joint. And here, it's a little bit the opposite. Here, I focus much more on sort of lifting out of a pose and cultivating a little bit more strength and a little bit more stabilization, and pulling people a little bit off of their range of motion, especially in lunges and standing poses. There's an ability for so many students to go sort of too low and too deep and too sort of sunken into the ground. And so here I work a lot on getting people to lift and to engage and pull a little bit up and spread out. But the way yoga affects people of different cultures, the same. So culturally and socially, there's all sorts of different manners, and physically, posturally, there's some differences. But Shavasana, after Shavasana, I don't care where we are on the planet, it's the same thing. Same effect. Affects us the same. Yeah.
Were there any things that surprised you teaching in Japan?
I think this sort of goes back to the previous question is the social dynamic.
Right.
The social quality, how still and quiet and attentive it is. And then class is over, namaste, thank you, and then it's like balloons go in the air and confetti drops and there's streams, like everyone all of a sudden getting to know each other, taking pictures, the whole social atmosphere is incredibly dynamic.
What do you find in terms of demographics, so the gender or the age range
That's a good
compared
question.
to, say San Francisco?
Well, depending on where I'm teaching in San Francisco, I teach a couple different studios.
I see.
And even there, the demographics are a little bit different. So at one of the studios that I teach, about 45% of the people that come are men. So 40 or 50% of people at one studio are men. And that's also a little bit of not an old demographic, but somewhere my age, like mid to late 30s to early 50s.
Okay.
And then I teach at another studio where I'm one of the older people in the room, right? Where it's more like early 20s to mid 30s. So I even find in San Francisco there's some range depending on the location of the studio. There's also some gender difference depending on the location and the time and the culture of the place.
Oh, I see.
Here,
it's all women.
It's all women. It's all women, but I'll tell you, a lot of the men that do practice here have killer practices. Really strong, really mobile, really attentive people. I was teaching last night and we were doing a bunch of side bends. And there was a guy who came that was just so strong, so aligned, so free. I mean, some of the most beautiful deep side bends I've ever seen. And they didn't look distorted. They were deep, but they were really even and spacious and stable. So even though it's almost all women, the men who are practicing have pretty unique ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that in Hong Kong.
I see.
Especially a lot of the men that had come were Southeastern Asian men.
Okay.
And there's just for a lot of those men, there's a quality of being in the body that is pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me remember I played ice hockey for the first 15 years of my life. I had this sort of I had this sort of bigger lumbering body.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of these students, I just see a physical aptitude that's amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
In terms of spending time here, traveling, were there any foods or drinks that you like? Japanese food?
Yes, everything. Do you have another 3 hours?
Okay.
And my teacher training in Fukuoka, by day 2, all I could talk about were the matcha floats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so matcha and ice cream. I really love Japanese food.
Mm-hmm.
I really love it. And I don't have a very restricted diet.
Okay.
I did for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started traveling a lot,
Mm.
it just became physically and socially really difficult to sustain.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy experiencing culture through food.
Mm-hmm.
And so eating a lot. So Hakata style ramen, which is a thicker, heavier, sort of fattier
Yeah.
ramen, really, really good. Matcha everything. I love mochi.
Mm-hmm.
7-Eleven has decent sandwiches. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's like the sandwich culture, the convenient sandwich culture is pretty mind blowing.
Uh-huh.
And then just everything. I would just have pretty much eaten everything. I miss crusts though.
Crusts. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I want everyone to know crusts are okay. We don't have to cut them off at every sandwich. And also brown rice is nice sometimes too.
Yeah.
I haven't had brown rice or a crust in 30 days.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready for brown rice and crusts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you might have had an opportunity to do a bit of shopping. Is there anything that you like to buy on your trips here and take back to the US?
You know, usually along the same lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I became familiar with a Japanese how do I not a sauce, a accoutrement, yuzu kosho. So yuzu pepper.
Okay.
Yeah. So this yuzu, this is a citrus-based food and pepper combined that puts together a taste profile that I've never had. That was just killer. Put it on everything. So stuff like that, teas.
Right.
Yeah. Various types of yuzu. Yeah. I have one suitcase and one bag and a lot of trains. So I haven't gotten much stuff.
Okay.
Though the men's shoes are really great.
Okay.
They have like sneakers here that don't exist on other places on the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I ever brought back another suitcase, it would have pairs of Converse and Adidas and Vans that I can't get in San Francisco.
You might be charged for import tax.
I probably would. I probably would. Yeah.